Hello everyone, and welcome to Hong Kong Baptist University.
She's Catherine Lee and I'm Michelle Ng. Here in Hong Kong, we have some of the most expensive real estates and a large income gap. Government figures here show that the Gini coefficient in Hong Kong, a measure of income distribution, is 0.5, much higher than the 0.2, a level that would suggest equality. So we are a city that has to deal with homelessness, as well as homes that are so tiny that you can barely turn around in. Here's Rachel Yeoh to tell us more.
We take a look at the living conditions of families who live in so-called subdivided flats. These are apartments split into several units. According to the Census and Statistics Department, nearly 210,000 people live in such homes. Many of these units are located in old residential buildings. Some of them are in disused factory buildings where spaces are illegally boarded up to provide homes that are less than 48 square feet, roughly the size of a car parking space.
Ms. Chen is a single mother of 2 young children. They live in a subdivided unit in Hong Kong, on the same floor with 14 other families. That means one apartment is split into many different units.
3個人啦，住咗1年半啦。
Every day, she has to cook, clean, and navigate her way around this 110 square feet space. She pays the equivalent of about $750 for a home that is approximately the size of a minivan.
居住環境就唔通風啦，係咯。空氣好差啊，因為又比較焗啲咯，冇窗啊咁樣。但係如果其他租嗰啲就貴啲咯，仲貴咯，其他嗰啲就揾呢度算即係話比較大又比較平啲咯，相對嚟講嘅話就。因為翻到嚟地方窄啊，覺得有時心情啊都唔係咁好，係啊，空氣又唔好咧，小朋友啊冇地方活動咯。
Expensive and cramped living conditions are common in Hong Kong.
其實如果我哋葵青區咧，就平均個大細都係主要係80至到100尺左右咯。咁我哋近呢1年咧，其實都見到就係個租金都係上升咗。過往可能前1-2年佢平均租金係4000零蚊左右啦。咁其實去到今年上年年尾到今年年初咧，其實都問到唔少街坊啦，或者係地產嘅代理都講，其實而家劏房可能平均都要去到5000或者係5500左右，都即係個上升趨勢個幅度都係大嘅。
There is also a very long queue for government housing.
其實如果以我哋接觸開嘅街坊咧，普遍佢哋都要等6-7年嘅。咁我哋都聽過最誇張嘅咧，其實10幾年都有。咁政府之前講嘅可能3年上樓啦，或者係平均4年咧，其實喺現實狀況我哋係見唔到有街坊係呢個時段上面係上到樓咯。
On top of that, tenants of subdivided units constantly face the threat of eviction. These banners are to please for help.
外面嘛，那个前街嘛要拆嘛，要拆，前2天都报警了，前2天都报警，他现在又追我们帮。本来8户他们4户都是一个人的都搬走了，我们就是有家庭的没办。
Wang Yuntat is a local councillor who has been helping people living in these tiny homes.
政府一方面真係要執法，佢又唔可以真係完全視而不見咁樣樣，即係有僭建物或者真係知道有嗰個喺工廠大廈有劏房存在，係違反咗嗰個用途，同埋有個真係潛在危險噶嘛。咁但係一方面亦都明白到。即係其實佢哋冇一個其他啲更好嘅選擇，可能係會更差，因為如果喺度即係做唔到嘅話，可能就住唔到嘅話，可能就會搬起可能更平即係租或者係一啲更危險嘅地方。咁呢個係一個處於我哋所謂講兩難嘅情況。
subdivided homes which damage the building structure or are in violation of land use regulations may be removed by the government. In order to qualify for resettlement, tenants need to file a writ in court to prove that they are homeless as a result of government demolition. That can take time, and some may end up on the streets.
希望早点分公屋给我最好。
Hong Kong is a city of migrants. Most people here are descendants of those who have fled from mainland China due to war, political, or economic reasons. But today, refugees here are struggling to survive. Ellie Wu and her team looked into the lives of those who are seeking asylum here.
To qualify as a refugee, asylum seekers were likely to be assessed by the United Nations High Commission for Refugees. They decide whether people have valid reasons to claim that their lives are under threat should they return home. In 2015, only 37% of asylum seekers gained refugee status. But in Hong Kong, only 2 out of 100 cases were identified as refugees. And simply waiting to be assessed can take years.
Cheryl, which is not her real name, is an asylum seeker from Indonesia. She has been waiting for an immigration permit for 4 years. She lives in a 50 square feet subdivided unit with her 2-year-old son.
In my country, Sumatra, Lampung, we have fighting. It's because of religion. All my family ran away from our country. Then I choose to go to Hong Kong and work. And after that, I'm not finishing contract with my employer. Then I'm taking everything. I'm very afraid with my son's future. And in Indonesia, they're making sickness from drug and they're just selling for our kids in school.
Cheryl is one of more than 5,800 asylum seekers in Hong Kong, according to government figures. Seekers can go through the unified screening mechanism, a screening process with the government here to see if he or she is entitled to non-refoulement protection. That is the right not to be sent home, for example, because they may face torture or inhumane punishment.
The food coupon for me and for my child is enough, but sometimes he needs more vitamins. The government of Hong Kong don't allow us to work. I need to work because my son, for transport station, for the food, for the house rent, is very correct. But we think that we are not good enough. But we don't have any choice.
The problem is that who is executing this? Honestly speaking, a lot of these immigration officers, they don't have an international perspective. Without the real knowledge of understanding these countries, there's no way you can assess fairly what's going on. They're controlled by people who have plans to get rid of these people, a kind of what we call a lump or a cancer.
But Hong Kong has not always been that unwelcoming of those desperate for a safe place to stay. This is, after all, a city built by migrants, many of whom fled mainland China when communism swept across the country in 1949. They sought refuge here in what used to be a British colony. And such are the roots of many local families here today. Then, when the Vietnam War ended in 1975, more than 200,000 refugees came to Hong Kong by boat. But Hong Kong is one of the few developed places in the world that has not signed up to the United Nations Refugees Convention. That means the city has no obligation to take in those in seeking refuge. So, for asylum seekers like Cheryl, life in Hong Kong is like stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Financial scheme or the humanitarian scheme is really a disaster. We are providing these people with $1,200 of food coupon, $1,500 of rental assistance, and some other allowance for transportation. One can hardly find a place to stay with that amount of money, and that the food coupon value is certainly not enough.
You allow these people to have conditional work rights. Like say, if you have been here for more than 3 or 4 years, you should be allowed to work. And there are lots of jobs that no local Hong Kong people want to work in.
I don't want his future to be bad because of my fault. If only for me, I don't need, because I'm old already. For my son, it's only like that. If they can allow him to be Hong Kong people, I'm very happy. It's only his future.
People from the Philippines make up the biggest foreign national population here in Hong Kong. Most of them are women who work here as domestic helpers. There are now 350,000 domestic helpers in the city, some of them from Indonesia, Thailand, and Vietnam. And some live in inhumane conditions. Here's Rachel Yao with the story.
Last year, 9% of Hong Kong's workforce were foreign domestic helpers. By law, domestic helpers have to live in their employers' homes. And often, this means no escape from work. Some are forced to sleep in cramped spaces or work for prolonged hours without food. The exact figure of these victimized helpers is not known. Migrant workers groups tell us that some would choose to remain silent in order to keep their jobs.
Sunday in Central, Victoria Park, Causeway Bay in Hong Kong. This is where some of the city's 352,000 domestic helpers, which is 9% of overall workforce, spend their days off. Under the government's live-in rule, these women, most of them from the Philippines and Indonesia, must live at their homes of their employers. So, on their days off, there is nowhere to go but sit on the streets. The live-in rule was introduced in April 2003, was supposed to prevent workers from overseas competing with local people for jobs.
The majority of people who support mandatory live-in believe that workers will work part-time even like when they finish working in employer's home. And some might think that like they cannot control what they do in the city or in the society when they live out.
But spending 24/7 with their employers leave domestic helpers vulnerable to abuse.
大熱嗰或者有，真係我哋都冇。係有時間啦，8點到9點。如果有時都有唔到食，夜晚都係兩個小朋友嘛喺屋企。
冇錯㗎，因為照顧 BB 啊嘛，所以4個鐘一次都會起身㗎。
It means that it's very, very difficult to regulate how much they work, because a domestic helper is not going to say if somebody comes in at 2 a.m. in the morning and wants something to eat or whatever it is, she's not going to say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not on call.
Even if they are allowed to live out, many of their helpers probably cannot afford to. Most of them earn the minimum wage of just over $500 a month. The average cost of renting a 450 square feet flat is equivalent to $2,025 per month. Under their contracts, employers of domestic helpers are supposed to provide decent living conditions. Such working conditions take a toll on the health of the helpers.
In 2016, over 100 foreign domestic workers died in Hong Kong, and majority of them died from illnesses, but those are stress related.
They might call the agency for help. Usually the message they get from the agency is, go back to your employer, be obedient, and do as she says, and you'll be fine.
3 years ago, the horrific beating of one Indonesia helper, Ariana, by her employer shocked Hong Kong. Her employer is now serving 6 years in jail, and Ariana won $103,000 in damages. Workers' rights groups have campaigned for the scrapping of the live-in rule. Nancy Lubiano, a Filipino domestic helper, lost her judicial review earlier this year. A government spokesman said publicly 2 years ago that there is no shortage of local people who are willing to take on domestic worker jobs. So there is no sign of change on the live-in rule for these women anytime soon.
An estimated number of 1,800 people in Hong Kong are homeless, according to government data. Some of them work, but simply cannot make ends meet. Our reporter Amy Ho has more.
The government here in Hong Kong runs a number of shelters for homeless people. When we started working on this story, we were wondering why people choose to live rough rather than go to these shelters. We found out that staying at a shelter is often not convenient and sometimes unsafe. We then found out that some would pay the price of a cup of coffee to spend their life somewhere you do not quite expect.
It is the middle of the night, and people are snoozing. But this is not an airport terminal or a train station. This is, in fact, the 24-hour McDonald's in the impoverished district of Sam Shui Po, where some of Hong Kong homeless people seek shelter every night. Kong Hong Man is one of them.
因為麥當勞有凳瞓可以攤直個瞓得舒服咯，係，所以會堅持喺嗰度瞓啦，佢哋好多都。同埋麥當勞啲地方乾淨啊。深水埗麥當勞咧，就夜晚12點定1點後咧就會封咗成個牆上面封咗，就話清潔，但係冇清潔過，封到第二朝6點鐘先開門俾人入去食嘢啊啲剩嘅。
More than 900 people were homeless at the end of 2016, according to government figures. That's nearly 2.5 times as many as 10 years ago. They can choose to sleep in government-run centers like this one, but social worker Clarence Wai says few people choose to do so.
例如係有啲宿位其實可能有塞啦，咁佢哋有陣時都會滅塞嘅。咁又例如係佢哋話夜晚嗰陣有人會醉酒鬧事啊，或者係互相之間都容易嗌交嘅，因為嗰個距離好近。
Some of those who end up on walkways like Shan and other street sleepers actually prefer this to a government shelter.
佢限期係1個月啊，但係咧1個月你仲未揾到地方住，仲未有啲就可以申請多個月，可以申請最多3個月。
A lot of homeless shelters have serious hygiene problems. Yomate Shelter, under Street Sleeper Shelter Society Trustee Incorporated, is built above the public toilet and a garbage station. There is an indecent smell of urine, and cockroaches and mosquitoes breed in hordes around in this area.
And even finding a good spot outside isn't easy. Park benches are often designed such that they are uncomfortable to sleep on.
即係下下淨係叫清走我哋，你清走我哋最大問題一樣嘢，你唔識得去安置翻我哋。
嗰個人住喺嗰個地方嘅時候咧，佢會有一個好嘅社區嘅網絡可以 support 得到佢，而同埋嗰個人要住得嚟有尊嚴咯，即係廚廁再加你瞓嘅地方加埋晒一齊，喺一個大概40尺嘅地方裏邊，其實呢個係咪住得有尊嚴咧？喺個衞生嘅角度係咪好咧？對個健康咪好咧？
I hope we have helped you to understand some of the problems with homelessness and shelters here in Hong Kong.
We hope to join you again next year on Global News Relay.
Goodbye from Hong Kong.